The UK has suspended its cooperation with the army in Myanmar because of the humanitarian crisis affecting Rohingya Muslims. The country's leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, said today that her government did not fear international scrutiny of its handling of the crisis. It was her first public address since violence in Rakhine province has sent some 400,000 Rohingya Muslims fleeing into neighbouring Bangladesh in what the UN has called ethnic cleansing. In a moment, we'll have a report from Jonathan Head, our correspondent who's been talking to Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. But first, our correspondent Jonah Fisher was in the capital of Myanmar to listen to Aung San Suu Kyi's speech.
Myanmar's Nobel laureate arrived for her speech, a once unthinkable question hanging in the air.
Ms Suu Kyi, have you become an apologist for ethnic cleansing?
There was no reply. That's Aung San Suu Kyi's style these days. In the last 3 weeks, 400,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled her country, and she's said very little.
Ms Suu Kyi, do human rights still matter to you?
This televised address to diplomats was Ms Suu Kyi's chance to state her case to the world.
We feel deeply for the suffering of all the people who have been caught up in the conflict. Those who have had to flee their homes are many, not just Muslims and Rakhines, but also small minority groups.
This was Ms Suu Kyi giving the both sides defence. Overwhelmingly, the victims in this crisis have been the Rohingya. As to who was responsible for burning villages, she refused to point the finger. And then, to many people's surprise, there was this.
We are concerned to hear that numbers of Muslims are fleeing across the border to Bangladesh. We want to find out why this exodus is happening. We would like to talk to those who have fled as well as to those who have stayed.
This speech won't satisfy Ms Suu Kyi's many critics. A generous reading of it is that she's badly out of touch. But the idea that she put forward that she doesn't know why hundreds of thousands of Rohingya have fled into Bangladesh, well, that simply beggars belief. Ultimately, Ms Suu Kyi doesn't control the Burmese army, but its generals seem quietly pleased that it's her taking the flag.
What will it take to stop the abuses? Why have so many people fled, and why aren't your soldiers stopping the burning of villages?
This is their strategic plot. The Rohingya were the ones who started attacking security forces. Then they ran away. They knew what they did, then got worried about it and ran away.
Aung San Suu Kyi has made her choice. Her relationship with the military and the stability of her government comes before the Rohingya and what's left of her international reputation.
This is what Aung San Suu Kyi did not talk about in her speech today. It's a Rohingya village called Goruchara, being burnt down by Rakhine Buddhists in the presence of the police. I filmed this 12 days ago. 2 days after the date, Ms Suu Kyi says all military clearance operations had stopped. As I watched those burning buildings over in Rakhine State in that village, I really wondered what had become of the inhabitants, looking at the clothing strewn on the path. Well, now I'm over on the Bangladesh side of the border, and we've met up with a man called Abdul Majid. He's brought his family here from Goruchara to build a home in a new bamboo and plastic sheeting community that's sprung up just behind these rice fields. Abdul Majid took me up to his new home, where a village is being hacked out of the muddy hillside. So many Rohingyas have arrived over the past 2 weeks that there is no room in the existing camps. These people are paying a local farmer for their tiny plots of land. Abdul Majid shares this patch of ground with his wife and 5 children. Their only shelter, flapping sheets of plastic that blow off during the monsoon storms. I showed him what I'd filmed of his village being torched. He recognised the madrasa and a tea shop in the marketplace. He'd been reluctant to leave, he said, but they'd been shot at by the Burmese army for more than an hour.
Even if they gave us a sack full of money, we wouldn't choose to stay here. If they didn't shoot us in Myanmar and there was peace, we would go back right away. We're not happy being here. We're not here for the food, but only to save our lives.
Aside from some clothing, this is all Abdul Majid's family has left. Burmese currency, worth about 70 pence. The plight of other recently arrived Rohingyas is scarcely any better. They're making do in conditions that defy description. Bare existence in the mud and trees, and nothing else. Jonathan Head, BBC News, Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh.